Let me share something with you that I had experienced the other day. I had read on a YouTube post something interesting about a cathedral, an old but very beautiful cathedral in some European country. But it wasn't the cathedral that caught my attention, but a comment about this cathedral I had seen. Someone mentioned how you just don't come across art like that anymore. You don't find aesthetics or passion in things that get used like a church today. And that made me discuss in my own head. I wonder why that is. You see, I had to think about this. And when I tend to think about things on a philosophical, molecular level, I go stir crazy. But back to the epiphany I had with this cathedral is that buildings and bridges and houses being built were also beautiful then in a time where artists were considered skilled craftsmen, and now they seem to just be degenerate visionaries who help millionaires launder money with shitty fucking art. But eventually, I came to the conclusion that at the time, people did things that superseded themselves, and it was a pretty common thing. It was extremely common. Yeah, it was to make a living, but also because that work was evidently beyond them. Their work, it was just, it was more than just work, you see. Like, I'm just a dumb fucking fisherman who doesn't know anything about anything. But if I had to guess, it's that nowadays our work ethic is what I would consider to be ass backwards in a way. I believe it's because we have been living in a now and me era. Collectively, I would argue most people will agree on that. The fact that it's okay and socially acceptable to be selfish to an extent, that is. Which, of course, it is, but I think at the right times. It's default now for people to just personally fuck off and do as they please at their own accordance, henceforth building this apathetic and non authentic lifestyle. And I want to explain that. Now, I could be overthinking this a bit much for my own taste, even, but that's the type of shit that I do. Unfortunately, this isn't the only issue. The bigger issue in question is that it ranges from personalities to work to spending time with your kiddos. And I think, is that unusual to anyone or just me? Because we stop caring about one particular thing, we seem to stop caring about another thing, like a domino effect almost. It seems more trivial to some individuals, but through my lens, I see people who are losing touch in this reality. Now I get to see this firsthand by friends, acquaintances, and work colleagues. Weak authenticity is symbiotic in the sense that it infiltrates your life no matter what point it starts at. It's like a disease almost. And the best way I can describe this disease is that it's like looking at a patient who's got cancer. It's pretty obvious. Not to specifically call anyone out either, but it is the individuals who have a lack of personal built in traits, thoughts, ideas that are just organic. But it is unfortunate that nobody taught you how to work with your wits properly and function rightfully and be integral. I'm not arguing to find meaningful work and a meaningful way to make a living, but rather find meaning in your work and your character. This, I feel, will not with certainty make your life more authentic, but I think it steps in the proper direction, I suppose. I understand finding meaningful work is not easy. It's rather a challenge from years of working myself. I've been working roughly for 8 years now, and I'm only 22. I've had a plethora of different jobs, meeting all sorts of individuals, and not all the people, of course, but the majority of these people I meet all have this disease to an extent. But I think the payout far exceeds what we get from being so vague with one another and lacking of authentic work. I can't really sit here and contest that this is an answer, as I'm not an expert in psychology of being apathetic towards things and otherworldly beings, but I do clearly understand we all have the capacity and mindset to give this authenticity. But this is a matter of character, and it's rather simple. But first, we do have a pond to hurdle over. And for some people, this pond turns into a beach, uh, or it's a river, sometimes, whatever the fuck it might be. But it's really just your ego. If you can set that aside, your work, your relationships, and everything amongst that will feel just a little more real, a bit more authentic. At times, it pains me to see how out of touch we are today, and, how out of touch we can really be. But if we're setting the ego aside, it will be easier said than done for many. But just imagine what it could be like to have a more authentic life, to feel more genuine. Maybe you get lucky and find true love, even. I don't have much else to say other than putting genuine thought and work into yourself, your relationships, and how you make a living, a hobby, a passion, fucking anything. It seems to be such a broad scope, this topic, but it causes more than we think. For now, we should take heed to the question, why so disingenuous?